Today we're going to unravel one of the most famous and, frankly, one of the most cautionary tales from all of Greek mythology. It's the story of Arachne, a weaver whose talent was so incredible it led her to a truly terrifying fate.
You know, when you think about these myths, transformation is just everywhere. I mean, you've got sailors getting turned into pigs by Circe, or poor nymphs sprouting into trees. And the gods? Oh, they were changing shape all the time, usually for their own amusement, or to get some kind of cruel advantage.
But for regular people in these myths, transformation wasn't some cool superpower. It was almost always a punishment, a horrifying, permanent change forced on them by a powerful and usually very angry god.
And that, right there, brings us to our main character, Arachne. Her story is the absolute classic example of what happens when mortal pride, what the Greeks called hubris, goes head-to-head with divine power.
So first, let's get to know Arachne. She wasn't some princess or a demigod, not at all. She was just the daughter of a tradesman, a guy who dyed cloth these beautiful deep shades of purple. But her skill with a loom, well, that was something else entirely.
Her talent wasn't just good, it was mesmerizing. She could spin the absolute finest threads and weave them into these magnificent tapestries that seemed to flow like water. People would literally gather around just to watch her work, her hands moving so fast it looked like pure magic. And here is where it all starts to go wrong. As people praised her more and more, her pride just swelled. She started boasting, telling anyone who would listen that she was the best weaver, period. Better than any mortal, and yes, even better than the gods. That's the key. She refused to think of her skill as a gift from the gods. Nope, to her it was all her own genius.
Of course, in a Greek myth, when you boast like that, someone is always listening. And in this case, it was the one goddess Arachne should have never, ever provoked.
That's right, Athena, the goddess of wisdom, of strategy, and most importantly for our story, the goddess of crafts. Weaving was her thing. It was her domain. So for a mortal to claim she was better, that was a direct challenge.
So Athena, planning to teach this young weaver a little lesson in humiliation, disguises herself as an old woman and shows up in the crowd. She hobbles over and publicly scolds Arachne, asking her how she could possibly disrespect the gods like that. But Arachne, she's so full of herself, she just laughs in the old woman's face.
Well, that was the last straw. The old woman throws off her cloak and bam! There stands Athena in all her divine, awe-inspiring glory. She basically says, you think you're so good? Prove it. A weaving contest, right here, right now. And Arachne, trying to hide her shock, actually accepts. Okay, so this is it, the contest. And this is where the story gets so fascinating. Because this wasn't just about who could weave a prettier picture. This was a battle of stories, a clash of two totally different worldviews, all told through thread.
On one side, you've got Athena. Her tapestry is basically divine propaganda. It's a highlight reel for the gods. She weaves these spectacular scenes of their power and majesty, Poseidon commanding the seas, Zeus throwing lightning bolts. The message couldn't be clearer. We are glorious and you mortals are small. It was a warning.
But Arachne, she goes in a completely different direction. She weaves a tapestry that is just shockingly subversive. It doesn't show the gods as glorious rulers. It shows them as petty, cruel, and deeply flawed beings. She depicts them bickering and drinking, and she includes all the sordid details, like Zeus constantly changing shape to trick and assault mortal women. This wasn't just art, it was an accusation.
So you see the two stories, right there, divine power versus divine abuse. But here's the absolute kicker, the detail that changes everything. Arachne's tapestry wasn't just defiant, it was better. Technically superior in every single way. The colors were richer, the figures looked so real they seemed to be breathing. It was, without a doubt, the finer piece of work.
You just don't show up a goddess and expose her family's secrets and expect to walk away. The weaving contest was over, but the real consequences were just about to begin. Athena was absolutely furious. And this wasn't just about losing a contest. It was about being publicly humiliated by a mortal. This young woman had dared to air the gods' dirty laundry for everyone to see, and she'd done it with a skill that not even a goddess could deny.
And in her rage, Athena unleashes her power on Arachne. The weaver's triumph turns instantly to terror as her body starts to shrink and contort. Her arms get stuck to her sides as coarse black hair sprouts all over her skin.
Her fingers, those incredibly talented fingers, they wave wildly, twisting and elongating into 8 new legs. And, for a final cruel touch, a single thread begins to unspool from her belly, a constant reminder of the talent that cost her everything.
So, what became of the greatest mortal weaver who ever lived? Well, her punishment ended up creating an entirely new form of life.
Because she dared to challenge the idea that the gods were perfect, that they were beyond reproach, Arachne was transformed. Athena quite literally shrunk her adversary down to size, turning her into the ancestor of every spider on Earth.
Just think about that. A singular, unique punishment for a singular, incredible act of defiance. And get this, her name, Arachne, that's exactly where we get our modern word arachnid. Her legacy is literally woven into our language.
And that leaves us with this final, haunting question. To this day, spiders spin their intricate webs, right? So, is that a punishment? Are they forever carrying out a sentence for their ancestors' pride? Or could it be something else? Could it be a sign of undaunted persistence, a refusal to let their art die, no matter what form it's forced to take? It's a pretty powerful thought to end on.